Welcome back to another show. This is episode 117. Got another stud back in the house. I look back and you're like one of the early episodes, Chris. So feels good to have you back. And you probably don't need much of an introduction. You're a stud. Everyone pretty much knows who you are at this point in life. Pest Control. But if you don't, you got Chris Moreschi. He's the CEO, founder of Gorilla Desk. So super important guy today. Super excited about this one. Chris, welcome. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing amazing. You've done 117 episodes. That's awesome. And you're keeping at it.
Yeah, there's a few weeks in there where we got busy and didn't record, or some people missed or whatever happened. But yeah, we're still at it, still grinding away. And before you know, I think we'll be at 1,000 episodes. So we're getting there.
Man, how many are you doing a week? You doing one a week?
This week we have 4 scheduled. So in a perfect world, I could just do 2 a week on the same day and knock them out. Yeah, it'd be easier for me. But doesn't always happen that way, so I just accommodate my guests and just keep rolling. But before the pod, we were just talking real quick about dieting, getting healthy. You look really good, down to 170 pounds. It was awesome. Was there a reason that you wanted to do it other than just to do it?
Well, I don't know if you know, but I've been working out with a trainer for like 7 years. Same guy, he's like my best friend. And I just love feeling good. I've always wanted to stay in shape, and have a certain aesthetic. It's just something I've always been into. My dad was in bodybuilding when he was young. And I have this one picture of my dad on my fridge of him in the old school undies posing. And it's just like, my dad was really into Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, all those guys. So he actually used to pull me out of school on school days to go watch movies. And that's some of the best memories I have of my dad. And he was just really into bodybuilding and all those guys. And, I took it up in college. I didn't know what I was doing, working out. I was kind of like eating all the wrong things, not working out well. And then once I started, let's say like Gorilla Desk, I hired a trainer full time just so I can make sure that was always on point. Because I knew if I felt good and I was lifting, that other things always felt way better and they fell into place. There was it would like relieve a lot of the tension around everything else that I'd be dealing with. So I do like to work out in the evening. That seems to be the best time. A lot of people like to do it right in the morning, but I find like after work's over is the quiet time where I can chill out and really hit the gym. When are you hitting it? You're doing it in the morning, right?
Yeah, I'm a morning guy. Like I'm usually there by 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there, depending on if the girls have to go to school or what that situation is. But yeah, for me, it has to get out of the way early. I've been doing 2-a-days for the past 160 days now. So 45 minutes in the morning, 45 minutes in the afternoon, gallon of water. Been doing 75 hard for literally 160 days straight. So
that's a good question for you, Jonas. Why are you going all crazy? Why are you working out all crazy?
I kind of feel the same way. Like I feel like I got lost for a few years, you know what I mean? With my health, and looking back and just shaking my head at myself, like just drinking and not taking care of myself, working hard, like probably the wrong type of work. But I was just growing the business, you kind of gets caught in a rut there, but you're just grinding every single day, come home, have a few beers or whatever. And then, stop drinking and then start getting healthier. And now I feel really good. I look really good. And like you said, like you take your shirt off and you feel good, you look good. It just changes everything, like whole different type of confidence in yourself and feel good. If you try to, be good for my kids and make sure I'm healthy, showing them a healthy lifestyle. So a lot of the above, but yeah, I feel good. I'm strong. So it's probably why.
You're crazy strong, man. Let everybody know. What are you benching? He just gets down, man. Benches what, 405 in a second? What happens?
Yeah. I did 405 2 weeks ago. Did it for a couple weeks in a row. Yesterday, I started with just the bar and then 10 plates on each side. And then I kept adding 10 plates till I ran out of room. And I was doing 10 reps of everything until it was like 365 by the time I was done. And there's a lot of reps. Those are wild. So yeah. So every time I added a plate, I do 10 reps. So it was 10, 20, 30, 40 on each side. I got 365, did that once. And then a lot of times I go back down, but there's a lot of reps already. So I didn't.
I don't know, man. I don't think you're telling everybody. I don't think you're being completely honest with what you're doing over there, bro.
Yeah, I think I just have T-Rex arms, so it's easier for me.
That's what you say. That's what you lean into. T-Rex arms.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what else to tell you. I've always been strong. I think it's just the way that I'm built. I'm built a lot like you, just short and stocky. So not a whole lot of movement, but
you did a lot of wrestling, so you got that wrestling strength.
I do, and I think it's the old man strength too. I'm in my 40s now,
I hear you.
But yeah, so there's a lot there, but I feel really good. down. I think I started off at 186, around like 170, but sit right around 168 to like 172. But yeah, I feel really good.
What's really cool about Jonas is that it's rubbing off on your team.
It is.
Right? Like other guys around you. I know that you're number 2. He started working out a lot and now he's inspiring the other guys to work out. And it's just
he dropped 50. He did 75 hard this winter and he dropped 50 pounds.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He looks like a totally different human being. And then, then all of a sudden you see all the other guys, they're hitting the gym at 5, 6 a.m. before they're going to knock. And and it's the same thing when I quit drinking. And, like all of a sudden everyone around me who had like, not say drinking problems, they didn't like, but they just stopped drinking too. And then even the people who are smoking cigarettes, they stop, which is, I never anticipated that part of it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Probably the best part, to be honest.
Yeah. You just show up and you just lead by example.
Absolutely.
So yeah, man, you're killing it.
Appreciate it. Well, again, without further ado, we'll get into the podcast a little bit more, but real quick, people who didn't listen to the last episode, kind of just give us your background, how you got into pest control in the first place.
Yeah, my dad started his pest control company in 1986. Like same story. He just kept it as a side gig, basically, to help put me and my brother through private school. So I never thought that I would really get into pest control. I went to school at Florida State, studied English, got a degree in technical and creative writing. And when I got my first job at Business Wire, I was a news release editor and kind of figured out really, really fast that I was unemployable. Like I didn't like being told what to do at all. So essentially I looked at my family's company and I said, well, what can I do over here where I'll have a lot more freedom and I can use everything I know to enhance their business? And I had done a lot of online marketing, web development, a little bit of e-commerce. And my parents didn't have a web presence or anything at that time. And this is now like, let's say 20 years ago now. We've been doing Gorilla Desk for 13. And before that, I was managing the pest control company for my family for 7 years. So 20 years ago, I started my family's pest control company. And I grew that over time by giving them a web presence, rebranding it to being a natural organic service line, and took that over, like I was saying, about 20 years ago, ran it for 7 years. And during that time, knew that I wanted to build a product that I could bring to market, which was going to be Gorilla Desk. I wanted something really easy that my family could use. We were using Smart Service at the time, which was a desktop-based application and wasn't cloud-based. And so that kind of nudged me to know, hey, if I build something for my family and they do really well with it, they're not that tech savvy, that I knew a lot of other people could take advantage of it as well. So, I came up as all the other cloud products were starting to come up at the same time. It seemed like as I was developing a product, all the solutions were essentially a desktop-based solution. And then I was kind of the surge of all the cloud-based options.
Yeah, it's super awesome. It's hard to believe. Software has been out for 20 years, like you said, and there's still some companies that don't use the software.
Yeah, Gorillaz has actually been for 13 years. It's been out for 13 years. And I've been working on it for probably 15 years. And, but I mean, there are a lot of companies that use it. Actually, we have about 18, almost 20% of the market in pest. And we're onboarding 50 companies every single week. Most of all the companies that come to Gorillaz are a hybrid of pest lawn, pest wildlife, or, other services like pool cleaning, but mostly we're doing all green industries, pest, lawn, tree care, anything that's doing any type of chemical or fur applications. People come to Gorillaz, because it's a specialty we do in auditing and making sure you're hitting all the material requirements. So, I mean, we definitely have come a long way.
Are you sick of paying marketing agencies and not getting results? Well, we are hosting the #1 step-by-step class on how to attract and generate sales without paying a marketing agency or having a huge budget. Most lawn care and pest control owners get stuck at a ceiling because they're dealing with outdated systems or relying on guesswork waiting for the phones to ring. Our upcoming class this Thursday provides proven strategies to generate hundreds of leads without a huge budget. We'll show you how to build a predictable systems to grow past $1 million. We show you how to automate your marketing. We'll also teach you how to delegate and build your team so you have more time. So click the link in the description below. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. This is the one thing that I wish I had learned a lot sooner. Now, let's get back to the show. What I love about Gorilla Desk still is that you're the founder. You haven't sold out. Like, you're moving fast. You're implementing things right away. You're ahead of the curve. You're ahead of all the technology. Like, it's been one of the coolest things to watch. I appreciate that about Gorilla Desk, like, in the best way possible. Like, you're smoking everyone as far as implementation.
Yeah, now we can say that, right? It took how long to be like, Chris, you need this, you guys need this, you need that, and then over time you just continue to listen, continue to build, and then yeah, it is a really exciting moment. Even though we've got to this point, and it seems like this has been a long journey to here. It almost feels like it's just the beginning because now we're up front, and now we can show people really what we can do, right? How to keep the customer service and support high, how to continue to onboard and grow at the same time as doing that. I'd say that's the most difficult thing is if you really want to scale and you balance and keep the support side high and great and keep that service component really tight, then you don't have as much friction on scaling. As soon as you start giving your customers friction on the support side while you're scaling, they feel it and they let you know. So, in Gorilla Desk land over here, we really put a lot of focus on the back end, on the onboarding and all the experience after the fact and figuring out, well, what's our wait times? What are our wait times on chat? What are our wait times on getting a phone call? What are our wait times on getting a call back same day? What are our wait times on getting, a training call in for a new onboarding company versus our current companies on board? So a lot of that is what I'm looking at right now is how to make sure that all those times and support times don't get destroyed as we onboard more and more and more clientele. So that's kind of been my focus. If we're talking like that's what I'm working on the last few weeks, how to make sure the support side quality, we're hitting the same increments in time and support that we were always in the past. And you'll notice that once companies are acquired, usually they roll up the prices of the subscriptions and they pull back the support side. And so you have to have the opposite mentality. How do I provide more value by providing more service and charging for that service, and then making the support side even more of a delight so that people are continuing to remark about us, right? One of the core values of Gorilla is remarkable. And so to be remarkable means having people positively remark about you in the marketplace. And the only way to really do that well is to keep the whole back end side really nice and tight and then provide them the support that they feel like they've always been getting as a client and will continue to get as a client. So that's what I've been working on a lot lately.
That's really cool. That's what I was going to say next. Like, happens every single time to do a roll up. They get rid of a lot of the support staff because it's all about EBITDA at that point, right? Scale back the CS team, and then it goes to ship from there. Like, you can't get a hold of anyone. They call you 2, 3, 4 days back later if they even call you back. It's a struggle for real. And it's not just one; it's all of them that happens to. A close friend of mine sold his company too. Same exact thing.
Yep. I feel like what the customers know a lot too. I mean, the expectation, of course, is that the service support's going to be there. But I think what they're really seeing in the market is what applications am I going with now that are on the forefront, that are continuing to develop with AI in mind? Like, even though I don't see a lot of true AI full out adoption, I think that in our industry, they are a bit of laggards that will get onto the AI train, but everybody still knows and talks about it and is like, well, are they set up for AI? Because I don't want to have to switch to another company in the future. Or are they continuing to develop? And what you're finding is many of these companies are just stagnant in their product development. And that creates a huge advantage for Gorilla Desk because we've kind of kept this mantra of ongoing production, ongoing development. It's not something that it's like baked into our DNA, so we're always releasing new and on the edge. We just released our full chat AI for the customer portal and text messaging and soon for voice. What's really cool about the AI that we've introduced, it's basically an AI receptionist that can man your SMS or your customer portal and provide live chat. And it's really sweet, Jonas, because you can basically create your own library of documentation for your company. And you probably have a lot of it already. So it's like your hours of operation, the zip codes that you work in, how you perform each service, your pricing table sheet, et cetera. You can basically feed all of that to AI. And we're using OpenAI as the backend right now. And it will take all of your data set and kind of and act just like a receptionist in your company. What else is really cool with these AI agents is you can tell it how to behave. Hey, I want you to have a really bubbly, friendly, mannerisms, or, make it make it comedic if you wanted to, or, whatever the tone is that you wanted them to convey. You could even let them know that when you're building your AI. And it's really, really simple and intuitive. Like anybody, you could basically feed it a text document or just tell it what you want to do in plain text, and it ingests it that way. So what's really cool, the way that we've created it, making it that easy, anybody can just train their AI really, really, really quickly by just adding any of their current documentation and pricing. And then it will accurately answer based on, the question that the customer is asking. It also, as their last step, gives them the ability to escalate any conversation as for a real person. So you're providing them the ability to get whatever questions answered they need fast on the support side, as well as escalate whatever they need to, your real support team.
That's awesome. How have the customers of pest control companies been adapting to it? Have you seen it at that level?
Well, the customers are, I think, of a different segments, right? You have your solo operators, and then you have small teams, larger teams. So small operator, it's awesome because generally they're in the field working, right? So the AI representative can take any lead information for them on their behalf while they're working. It could handle any customer questions. A lot of times the customer will just say, hey, I need to pay my bill, or hey, I need to change my credit card on file, or hey, when's my next appointment? Like it'll literally ask that to the AI. The AI is integrated into Gorilla Desk CRM. And so it already knows the customer's account in the portal, and it could already start, handling, offloading some of those questions. So, the solo operator has a lot less to do. It's almost like having your first, representative in your office, but basically as a digital agent. For the larger offices, I see a lot of them, definitely the very first thing they want to do is they want to turn it on for after hours. They want it for after hours SMS and definitely on the portal, so that they know that they're still able to capture at some level this business using the AI agent. What's really cool is I notice those companies, they'll review all the conversations at night and basically approve that AI on the fly. So if anything that is coming through that is not being answered properly, they're more on top of making sure that it's dialed in for them almost the very next day for those conversations will go well. So after hours, I think, is huge for the larger companies. And then generally, just being able to, let's say you're max staff, or you have a representative out, right, from your office. Everybody else feels that. What's cool is that they can offload some of that by running the AI at the same time. AI can field lower level chats, and then the chats or conversations that are hitting your customer success team are like a level up from just the mundane, right? So you're able to save time on all the mundane QA that might come through. And so I think what I notice is these companies will hit a pain point like, oh man, we're out 2 representatives today and we're feeling it. So let's look into what the AI representative can do. Then they turn it on. Then they start to realize the opportunity there. And then they make that basically as another employee team. I think they've just got to feel a bit of that pain, and then they turn it on for the first time. And then they start to, ahas start going off, and they really see what it can do for them. So that's what I'm noticing. But I do notice, like I said in the beginning of the conversation, like our industry are a bit of a laggard in adopting this process. And a lot of them have this feeling that I'd rather be talking to a real person. That's kind of like the natural, how everybody's responding, until they find themselves in a moment where they really could have given somebody better service, right? Where when they find myself in a moment, if I'm a solo operator and I can't provide service, I'm not providing service. If I'm a larger company and we're understaffed for whatever day, I'm not providing the same level of service. I think once they see that, and then they see, oh, I could actually provide a better level of service, then it becomes a natural thing to start using the AI.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then as far as like your pest control operators, customers, how have they been receiving it? Are they using it quite a bit, the AI?
I think like anybody, we just want it to work, right? So it works most of the time, but some of the times it doesn't have the answer to the question. And that's either from, the original pest company not putting in their full QA. And then the second thing I think that we've made it easy is you got to really make it easy for somebody to request a real person. So as long as you have that ability for them just to request a real person. And also the last thing that we've just kind of baked in, and I notice a lot of the other AI agents that are out there serving us don't do this. They don't integrate directly with the CRM or the portal, right? So the AI has no context on who they're talking to. You've got to give the AI context. Like, does the AI know, is this a new lead? Is this a current customer? Is this a current customer with a long history? Is this a current customer that just signed up? The AI can treat them all the way they should be treated if it's doing its job well. And I think if you're doing that with your AI, then the customers on the end will receive it well. If you don't have it integrated to the CRM and the customer is asking anything, can I change my credit card on file? When's my next appointment? It doesn't have any answers and just has to forward everything to a rep. That's not as helpful. So what we've done at Gorilla Desk is we baked in the AI to the CRM proper, so it knows basically who the avatar is and can segment your customer base and at least address them properly. People want to be addressed and recognized for like who they are. I'm your customer already. Don't treat me as a lead. I've been your customer for 5 years. Don't treat me as somebody that hasn't, been with you for a while. So I think that those nuances of providing that on the back end programmatically, basically giving your AI the ability to have a more an emotional idea on who and how it should respond, and some type of empathy baked in into who this customer is and how long they've been with you. And so a lot of that is what I'm excited about, because I see that as the low-hanging fruit opportunity, because but other CRMs are not really trying to take it that far, And so if you do get to that point with it, which it's still work in progress, but it's way better than it was, being able to actually recognize who your customers are on the AI side by using easy indicators is kind of like the way to go if you want everybody to feel good about what's occurring and want them to feel good about how they're being, how basically the service is being rendered. How well is the bot serving me really? How well is the AI serving me really? And what I'm excited about is I feel like at some point people aren't going to know the difference between speaking to someone versus an AI rep. They're not going to know at some point. We're not there yet, but at some point it's going to feel human, which I think is amazing for all of us to be able to leverage that with also our real staff. So I love the AI stuff, man. I could talk about it all day. You just keep me going.
Any way that we can get rid of some overhead, right? Or keep overhead to a minimum.
The way that I find our personnel changing is you're going to have managers of AI, right? I'm not going to just be a customer success rep. Now I get to be a customer success rep and AI manager. Hey, did you check all the AI responses this morning? Were they all on point? Can we dial them in better? Can we put in our playbook so that the AI team, which you're managing now, is being effective? Like another thing is everyone's job is not about being replaced. It's about dealing with a higher level of communication. Like, I can have an AI do this, but I can't have Jonas as a rep do this. Like, there's a higher level. There's always tiers of communication, right? Until you get that tier where, hey, I want to talk to a manager, right? We want to avoid that, but people get to that point. There's plenty of communication that the AI can handle where I don't want a real person. I just want something done now and quick. I want to update my card details. I want to know when my appointment was. I want to request a reschedule. I want to whatever. Like, I don't need a real person for this, but I have a problem with my account, right? I want to easily escalate to someone. So I see that our customer success reps won't have to deal with the mundane. They're going to deal with the next level up in communication requirement, and they're going to be able to manage at an operational level the AI communication and basically the repository of data for us, right? We should arm them and give them the ability to make sure that that knowledge base of information the AI pulls from is up to date and current. And our customer success team can do that. And when they're doing that, they're buying back the company a lot of time and buying us back their time to work on more difficult scenarios. right? More difficult communication scenarios or ops scenarios, if that's with routing or scheduling, whatever. So I just see us being able to lift all of the support team up. And also, if we frame it properly, we can make it seem like this job that they're getting is even now way more important. You're now affecting other areas of ops, and framing it that way and making them feel good about it. I think that all the success will rise to the occasion and feel like, all right, this is awesome. We don't have to do all the mundane so much anymore. And I actually am dealing with real serious conversations or real serious ops work.
Yeah. How do you stay in the forefront of all this? Like, who are you learning from, or how do you stay in front of it?
One is like, you have to have a real good vision for what you think we can achieve. The vision for me, like I'm telling you, it will end up feeling like they're just speaking to another representative. I don't want the person on the other end of the call or a text message to feel like you're not being treated well. And because I know that that's achievable and going to be achievable, I'm really striving towards that. So I'm looking at all the products that are allowing us to, get that nuance of relatability in what we're building for the chat representatives. And really that just means watching. There's basically 5 different AI that are in the running and staying on top of what they're doing and what their models look like, reading all the new model releases and seeing what's coming out. It's not that bad, Jonas. It's like, it's not too much that you have to stay up on.
Yeah, because you have to know what's coming down the pipeline, right? What you think is going to be good, and then taking that thing and going to implement as fast as possible.
Yeah, and what's cool though is they give us the APIs to execute pretty much at a very high level, a quick level. We've got all the basis covered of the whole, infrastructure, being able to deploy your chat rep. Everything we do on the back end now is just reiteration on now what more can we get contextually that these APIs are giving us. It's basically one main primary question. It's either going to provide an advancement enough or not. And to a point, we basically already have it. We could do a lot of backend engineering, which we're currently working on, which is tying the account data information into very specific ways in which that representative should respond. And you could even think of them off of your head, like how should you treat a customer that's been with you 10 years versus a customer that we just signed up yesterday? In what way should we acknowledge them? And really that is human-like training. It's not really out of the box through the API so much right now. But that's great. It means that we're creating something that is custom, that everybody else would have to create custom or else it's just not going to be available to them, which is really good, allows you to have an edge.
Do you think that voice will be there the same way over time, like where there's like the CS team is managing like the voice team, like the voice AI?
No doubt. Voice AI will be the very next thing that we end up working on. There's some other features that we did the portal and the text messaging AI. And now we're going back to do some kind of operational work that a bunch of our clients have wanted us to work on. And then we're going to come back around probably I'd say in 2 months and work on the whole voice AI. And this will give us also enough data because we released the chat AI rep in like November of last year. We really reiterated on it for the season to make it more emotionally intelligent and connected to the accounts about a month ago or so. And so everybody's rocking on the portal and the SMS. And then I'd say within 60 days, we'll start working on the voice AI. And it's going to be very easy to deploy because it's going to use all the same infrastructure that SMS and the portal AI uses. It just needs to be connected to the phone system, in the way that the companies want to use it, however they want to set it up. If they want it to kind of be first in the round robin or, if no one's available, it just depends on the options that we want to build for how they want it to handle voice. Basically the times and hours of operation.
Yeah, we've tried implementing voice, and it's just for us, it's just not quite there yet. It ended up being more like because it wasn't integrated, right? So it was almost like it was just more of a voicemail, which is fine. Like they could do some things here and there, but it just wasn't exactly what we needed yet. But it's there. It's cool. It sounds really cool. It can be helpful. It did sell a few accounts, but it wasn't integrated with our software at the time, so it's just hard,
Yeah. On the lead gen side, there's plenty of them, for lead gen. But when the lead gen doesn't know I'm already answering the call to a current client, you just kind of screwed up being remarkable. You know what I mean? Like, so that's my whole goal. That's my whole goal is we had to come out with the portal and the SMS first, find a way to get it to be remarkable and have context so that when we're running AI on the phones, it's just not it's just another lead tool, No, it needs to be deeper than that. It needs to be actually like a person working in your company and have context and have access to the account. So yeah, I want to do everything the right way.
How long do you think that will take you from start to finish to get implemented? Not holding you to it, just curious.
Yeah, I'll probably take 60 days to the first version once we start execution. No, most all things we get execute within 60 to 90 days because we place it as a focus for the full team. And we have 64 people on our engineering team right now. So, and more than half of those are developers. So once we go after something, it's, all hands on deck. It becomes a priority and a focus.
2 questions. What's been the hardest day with you with Gorilla Desk?
The hardest day?
Yeah.
Oh, the hardest days are not that many, but it's when there's a downtime. Luckily in the past year, I had one day on a weekend morning, which really made it not that bad, where we had like a few hours of time when we were trying. So what happened was we're doing a server migration at night that went long and into the morning and not accounted for, right? Because we thought the migration would have been done hours before. And there are things during the migration unaccounted for, like, having an issue with a migration to a server and then having to restart that server, that migration, then you just lost that time that you had accounted for. So, when I feel it, I feel it, when anybody's having a problem in an application, I feel it. And it makes me not that I've gotten to the point where I'm mature now. It doesn't upset me. It gets me in mode of, let me get this done. How am I going to get this done as fast as possible? How am I going to help everybody if there's if there's an issue? But those are the hardest days when things are running smooth. As long as the system's smooth, nothing else is that difficult. I can deal with everything else. But when servers aren't running that smooth, or there's even because there's a lot of third-party applications we use that aren't under our control. Everything's third-party applications we rely on. Not everything is completely vertically integrated, or do we own, or did we build everything? So from phone system to text, to servers relying on by AWS, there's a lot of different security tools that we utilize, and those securities create blockages sometimes that aren't really warranted. We're basically getting attacked, and all systems like ours are getting attacked every day. And a lot of systems like ours will use products like Cloudflare for layered security to prevent from getting DDoSed and just brought our servers taken down. So, with the mix of the tools, the mix of the server environments, the mix of third-party tools that we rely on, there's things that go wrong, bro. And it's just when the server issues are an issue, like it's maybe once or twice a year, but there's bound to be something. It just seems to be that way. It's how fast can you react as a team, So what's great about Gorilla Desk is, phone call away, I have always 4 guys, always at the ready, and we jump on and make sure that, everything's good to go. And we also do a lot more and have learned a lot regarding doing any types of new deployments or updates. When's the best time, how much additional time to allot, how to pre-roll the whole thing. We basically a week before we pre-roll the whole update to see how it would go. We place it in like its own environment to try to test to see if we can catch anything ahead of time. So, we're doing all the best practices, but even then, the hardest days are when you try to do everything correctly, there's either things out of control or things that are unexpected that create a problem for the system. But other than that, man, everything else is gravy.
Yeah. So when a server goes, you see your system goes down and it's a server and it's out of your control, what do you do there?
Well, basically we have a higher level of support with AWS, right? So we pay for higher level support and we get our engineers on with the support team there and they help to troubleshoot it. They're pretty quick. I mean, all the team usually does, maybe within 20 minutes, they'll have the problem and then they'll be working on the resolution of the problem, depending on what it is. But that's what we do. We have higher support level with all of our vendors, so that we can get directly in touch with them and handle anything that we need to. And that's basically what they offer. There's not much more that you can do beyond that. And just making sure that you keep a good connection with whoever your lead is, and connection to the current lead on the current GorillaDesk team. And that's it. Just keeping that open line of connection communication for when we, don't want those things to happen. When they do, that we know directly how to go through an ops procedure. So we have a full ops procedure on any of those partners, and what would happen, what the case scenario would be, from the support line all the way down to that senior person that needs to get it handled.
That's really cool. Talking about AI still, like, what are you most excited for in like the next, keep it simple, it's far away, like 5 years? Like, what do you see even beyond like the texting and the AI for voice? Like, what do you see beyond that?
Yeah, everything's going to be prompt based, man. How often are you going to ChatGPT now?
Every day. That's all I do.
Yeah. So I noticed my behavior change, man, right from Google to ChatGPT for a lot of things. Sometimes for some things like local ratings, hotels, flights, I have ChatGPT will give me all its suggestions for what flights, what hotels. But then when it comes down to actually booking, I go back to Google. But that's the point. Everybody is getting conditioned to use a chat-based prompt. And that's the way it's going to end up being in the CRMs. Essentially, you'll be able to go in your CRM and prompt it. And now imagine all the prompts, Jonas. Hey, GorillaDesk, create an email campaign to these users with jobs between this time frame, these services. I want to batch out that email. Can you help me write that email together? And then batch it out. Hey, GorillaDesk, can you reroute all the jobs for all of the next month across 4 or 5 different technicians? I want this technician to handle all pest control type related service. I want this technician to handle this, and I need this technician only working in this region. Imagine prompting every activity that you would ever do. Hey, I need you to give me this report. I want these columns. No, take that column out. Okay, give me a sum here. Give me multiply here. Give me,
The routes would be so incredible.
Everything generally. I mean, if you can prompt it and then you can have it react programmatically, I think that's all the gravy right there, because everybody's going to want a prompting interface. Now, people want checks and balances, so they're still going to want the old school CRM interface. They're still going to want to understand, hey, did what I just do take, do I have confidence in the changes that it just gave me? And once you get a level of confidence and you can see that, they're still going to want the visual CRM, but I think everything's going to end up being prompt based. That whole UI interface, people are, there's more difficult products than GorillaDesk, and those products are very painful to learn and train on. GorillaDesk, even as easy as it is, can have even another level of use if there was a prompt-based use. Because what I notice, and I watch customers using GorillaDesk, is they're taking their data from GorillaDesk and trying to prompt more data extraction in ChatGPT. Because everybody wants to look at things their own way or pull certain data their own way. And, in the past, you would have custom data tables where you would basically say, I want these field sets in my data table. In the future, it will be, this is the data that I want. I don't need to define anything. The system will already know and already grab all that data for me. So there's going to be less, it's going to be less finicky, less fooling around going from one application to another. If inside GorillaDesk, you already basically have a ChatGPT model connected to all the data. So that's what needs to be built now, is that the underlying data sets, the data tables that you have access to in GorillaDesk CRM property, the AI needs to know and access all the fields and know contextually what all the fields are for. And so in the back end, we are building, basically a model for training an OpenAI model. Here's GorillaDesk model and all the fields and what they represent. Then you connect them to an API model. and give you, as a power user, the owner of your company, a chat GPT interface, right? Then you can tell it to pull any report you want. Then what goes on from there, Jonas? Then it's now the model knows all the data, understands the context of all the data, and now we start asking the model to act like a CEO, right? Hey, based on all the data you know, if you were going to compete against those next to us, which product lines would we focus on and expand on, and how would you compete, at another level? How would you take our company from the current revenue mark to the next? Now, here's the secret that everybody should learn to know when they're using ChatGPT products. The secret is you've got to go 3 layers deep, 4 or 5 layers deep. Okay, if you would build that model, how would you then come in and compete against that model if you were going to build a new model? All right, now you've got a new model. All right, if you were going to come in and dominate and destroy everybody that came in with these 2 models, what would you do? And then you start to parse, but you get to bigger, broader understanding of what are all the things that ChatGPT would recommend to me that you wouldn't have to sit there and have a brainstorming session or whatever, because it's already churning it all out for you. All right, now you're saying, Chris, 5 years out. 5 years out means telling ChatGPT to build you a model, asking it to beat and break that model, asking it to come in and dominate that model. And it's going to come out. Here's the whole marketing plan. Here's the whole service strategy. Here's how we need to execute on service side, right? Here's the ad campaigns we would have to run. Okay. Now, the 5 year out is telling ChatGPT deploy. And you as an owner, you don't do anything because it's connected to your ad campaigns. It's connected to, your Google Analytics. It's connected to Facebook ads. It has all your accounts. It's connected already. Okay. It can generate imagery. It could generate ad content. It could buy and deploy the full marketing campaign, right? On its own. It can change the way you want to operate inside Gorilla Desk and optimize for that on its own. It could go out, maybe even put new hiring posts out everywhere you would go out and hire a sales rep on its own. It will go, you know what I mean? Like there's a level where ChatGPT can basically, or any open AI model, if it has the right connections, it will be able to do those things on its own. And that's what everybody's going to want. You're going to end up finding, you're going to have connecting your LLM system to what they probably have is like an API interface. Imagine like right now we have Zapier, right? At a low level where you can connect APIs. Well, imagine there's going to be like a Zapier for having your ChatGPT connected to all of your other accounts, right? And then it can automatically sign in and do and take care of all those activities for you. So that's what I'm most excited about, is that basically you become a manager of an AI CEO. And that AI CEO can execute within milliseconds things that would take any individual person hours of work to do.
And so as an operator, CEO, how do we win? How do we become the first ones there? Obviously talking to Chris every day. So I knew a lot of that was coming. We've already talked about it, but like, how do we win there? Like, how do we be the first one to be at the marketplace for that? How do we be in the forefront?
Well, you can already start winning right now because the information that ChatGPT is giving you back is really great information. It's still us that we have to execute on it. So if you're great at execution, you're still winning. You're just not taking advantage of that layer that I know is possible, where ChatGPT can go out there and already implement, execute against you. When it comes down to the creative, what I find is what these models can already do is if you feed it creative that's like the creative you want for your branding, it can now start emulating creative. Like I can give it my mascot and it will give me my mascot right back.
What are you using for that? Using Grok for that, or what are you using for that?
I'm using openart.ai. OpenArt is the most powerful tool that I found for regeneration on mascots. What you have to give it is 3 to 5, just poses of your mascot, right? Front on, quarter turn, side, rear. If you do that, that's all you need to generate for any mascot now at this time. And then you can feed that to OpenArt and you can ask it to do anything with your mascot. Put it in a pool naked, wearing, pool floaties, whatever you want to do with your mascot. OpenArt AI will do that. But soon all those tools will be able to do that. And so, you'll feed your initial AI, let's say your brand kit, your mascot kit, and then the AI can go from there. So like there are things you can already take advantage of, just like that tool. You can already take advantage of it on doing your creative. There's also a lot of sweet tools that are coming out for video creative, not just still imagery creative. So I'd say where you win now is taking advantage of all the individual agents. And where we live in 5 years, like you're asking for that 5-year vision, man, agent, deploy, go do it all for me. There will be we're all going to be striving for that easy button on the technology side to make it that easy for everybody. But until then, you're going to have all these individual agents that you're going to be using. You're already using ChatGPT. Okay, if you're using ChatGPT, you have felt the power that you have already available to you. But where you're not using it, it's there now. If you're not using it on art, it's there for art. If you're not using it for mascot development, it's there. If you're not using it for ad creative, video creative, it's there, and it's a capacity. And I'd say using all those tools now is a good time to start so that you understand what's available to you, and you're going to understand what's available to the AI and what those eventual easy buttons are going to allow you to deploy.
Yeah, it's awesome. What are some big levers that operators can pull right now inside Gorilla Desk that can really move the needle in their business?
I mean, review generation is the number one for everyone, bro. And I'm sure everybody knows and is using it by now, but that's the number one. And it surprised me for people that are actually on Gorilla Desk Basic, because Gorilla Desk Pro is no brainer just for review generation alone. Getting reviews on your GMB. Now, we don't know how GMB is going to change. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, that's a crazy question, right? Because of course, at some point, ChatGPT or any AI is going to want to come in and take some of that away from Google My Business, of course, right?
Something I noticed recently is that ChatGPT is starting to recommend video results from YouTube, which is odd because, ChatGPT is it's a competitor to Google, but they're still bringing up results from YouTube, which is great for you, which is also great for every independent company, because people are starting to now use ChatGPT in some ways for local search because they're thinking they can get it to do everything. And so what I'm finding comes up for local search is video content will come up for local search. So that's one thing I would be doing right now. That's a low-hanging fruit, is making sure I have some video content on my YouTube around my keyword terms for my local area that I'm serving, and starting to see if I can jump in the ranks in ChatGPT. Because I already noticed when people look for best pest control software, a bunch of our affiliates are coming up in ChatGPT searches. And that's great, because I was wondering, well, what's going to happen now with ChatGPT search? Are they actually going to integrate Google assets or YouTube assets or not? And they are. What else can they do inside Gorilla Desk, man? I think all the automated communication, this is old hat stuff, but I would say, thinking about your follow-up communication, most of the time people want to dump people into a review rating process right after on the initial follow-up. It's great for the initial follow-up, but where everybody's kind of falling short is following up after the fact and throughout the season and expansion revenue. I feel like all of that, we get the customer, we focus on sales. I do it too. And then it's, but where all the back end revenue that we're leaving on the table. So I think on the follow-up communication, we could be having a more personalized approach based on the service that is rendered. Gorilla Desk already allows you to do that today, so you can dial in per each service type you're doing, how you want to follow up and how you want that follow-up cadence to look like. And then I think in Gorilla Desk, we also have a sales opportunity pipeline now. That pipeline allows you to broadcast or run phone call sequences against any cohort in your system. So you want to be building cohorts for expansion revenue. You want to have your sales team or your customer success team dialed in so that they know exactly what lists they need to hit on every single day to make sure expansion revenue, as well as closing your regular sales, but expansion revenue should be occurring every single day in the business, right? So, hey, we're really focused on getting these leads called back same day or next day, but we aren't so focused on making sure on the first quarter or once summer season hits that we're upselling everybody into whatever strategic product that we're doing, whether that's mosquito, fert, or something else, attic dustings, crawl space dustings. There's timeliness for everything that should be occurring on expansion revenue as a basic op that is never missed. So we're putting a lot of focus on the sale, closing the sale, new sales. How much more did we grow? But on the expansion revenue part there's a lot more there than you think. Like in Gorilla Desk land, even so, when we send out broadcast mails and messages on what's new or what they should be taking advantage on within whatever given time frame, huge spike in what we're doing on expansion revenue that affects overall revenue. And so it's the same thing in pest control. My brother just did it in his company. We ran for him last year very timely expansion revenue campaigns, and he was able to break a goal that he wouldn't have broken otherwise. Everybody at Gorilla Desk wants to break the 1 million in revenue mark. And, when they're starting to ask how we really get there and what we do for that, I re-divert all their attention back on expansion revenue, because all they're thinking about is net new, and they're not really hitting that component of their business. So that's kind of where I'd be. I'd work on that and then scaling people. And I know, Jonas, we don't have a lot of time today. I know you're always asking me for one book or a few books. I have one book. Okay. I have one book, and that's Scaling People, Tactics for Management and Company Building. You guys, it's a really thick book. Don't let it scare you, because each section is broken out based on what you need to do as far as execution, whether that be hiring, doing proper interviews, continuing to score people over time, leadership development. Like everything is in this book, you guys, on scaling people. And so if I were to tell you, what else do I recommend? It's really getting into people. I think that a lot of people or owners hit a wall if they have a bad hire. And my one thing of encouragement is don't be discouraged by having a bad hire. Like we all have it. There's only a percentage of hits on base that you do well when it comes to hiring. And when you do have great hires, it makes everything else worth it. Like, trust me, you're going to have a great hire, and then you're going to see the frame of what a good hire looks like. And that's going to excite you to continue hiring. But you're only going to be excited to continue hiring if you feel confident in the way that you hire and manage. And this is the best book that I've found for myself to go back for hiring management and leadership development. So I highly recommend Scaling Up.
That's awesome. Thank you. Of course, I was going to end with that question too. What's your book you're reading right now? That's what I always do. That's great. Great advice. Every time that I've hired a key executive, on day one, they've made an impact. And they've been really good. Have you noticed the same thing?
For sure. It becomes like, it's almost like you exhale and you're like I made the right call. You know it. And it's very soon. If you're a month, 2-3 months out and you're like still trying to see if it's going to work, it's probably not the right person.
I had that happen last year, and I probably drug it out too long. We were like 45 days in, and I kept asking people like, what do they think? And they're like, oh, just give them a little bit more time. These people are a little bit different than you're used to. They're more creative side. And I was like, okay, I'll give them more time. Same thing. 45 days in, I'm like, this is not going well. I had to end it. But then again, have other people day one, like they made a massive impact on and it's like, okay, good. Sigh of relief, move forward. Like, been great.
there are roles, I'd say like a COO or an operator role, where there is patience, because at our level, we're used to doing it. And, I don't have a level of patience, like, because I just want things to get done. So what I have learned though is that in operations roles, you should allow, at least for me, like a 60-day, almost like a shadowing, so they can kind of absorb the way things have been working. But at the same time, coming with ideas on what should be changed before doing any new change execution, and then allowing them to start work, and also giving them grace in the areas that you hired them in where they're not as strong. Like, you're not always in, let's say you want an operator, but they're not as strong on the marketing side, but they got everything else down. You got to understand that, and you got to be there in the trenches with them to get their marketing chops up. Wherever, identify where they're not strong and show yourself and them the grace to allow enough time. That's the only time, but they should be coming with the skills that they are strong with out of the gate. And that should show a remarkable change or a remarkable contribution very soon, So grace in the areas where, when you hired them, they're not as strong, that you knew you need to train up and already had a plan for training them or giving them the grace to go through a period of training. And then seeing that they're really delivering on the things that you did hire them for, that are their core competencies, within a very short amount of time.
Great advice. Last question for you as we wrap this up. But I know it's probably changed a lot over the last few years, but what's the day of Chris Moreschi look like today?
My days are basically, I putter around in the morning, have a coffee. I kind of just allow myself to relax in the morning. I get sun in my eyes. I hang out with my dog. I'll have a good breakfast. It's usually like a parfait or eggs and toast. And then I'll start reviewing basically everything that's going on in product that would need my attention. And so if there's nothing in product that day that needs my attention, then I'll go and work on new ad campaigns or new product that's coming much further down the line, because those are the things that I enjoy working on in the morning. The things that are all administrative or meetings, I like to do afternoon time, or if I'm meeting with any clients, usually I'll do maybe 2 calls a day with different clients, usually our larger clients. So I'm not on the phone that much. And then the rest of the time I'm supporting my team in all the areas. Like I told you today, we're working on the support side. So I met with the support team specifically, and we'll meet for the next few days to make sure what we've done on the ops side is meeting the customer's expectation. I only run 3 meetings for myself a week. I do 2 meetings on Wednesday and 1 on Thursday. And I do the marketing meeting, a client success meeting, and a sales meeting. And then product, I'm meeting with basically every day, depending on what we're working on product side. So I spend a lot of time on product because it takes a lot of iterations and a lot of like massaging product for me to get it exactly right. And I'm a core component of the product team. So, most of my days I keep generally open, because if I'm going to create anything new, it means that I'm kind of coming from a blank place, blank slate. And that's something really important for me. If I'm creating or working on anything new, then I need, nothing else can be like consuming my mind. So in the very morning also, like as a practice, I'm working on where am I out of integrity and where I need to get in integrity. That's like when I'm taking my coffee and hanging out with Zane, I'm thinking like, is there anything that's weighing me down that's going to keep me from being completely open and creative? If there's anything weighing myself down, I direct it to my team or I handle it myself. Like that has to be done. Then that gets off your shoulders. Now I can be creative. And then, like I said, I just run a few meetings a week, and the rest of the time it's open, creative time for me. It might not be all fun work. It might be process work, or where is the bottleneck next? Where am I identifying as a bottleneck? But a lot of all the growth initiative and strategic planning, I've already done last year for all of this year. And then as before quarter 4 comes and quarter 3, I do all my strategic planning for all of the next upcoming year. So this year is already solid. It's just about execution and making sure based on growth that, all the departments are keeping up with the amount of growth. So I don't know. Hopefully I answered your question. Few meetings, very open time frame. Stay creative, stay open. I don't like to have something booked every hour on the hour, or else I'm really not leveraging my real core competency is the strength to teach as strategically as possible about the product and executing against the product.
That's awesome. No, that's why I asked. That's great. Do you have your next hire in mind? Big hire?
I've been hiring a lot. There's, all of our hires seem to be, as far as hire lists, more department hires, more support team, more sales. At the higher level, my core team is strong. I don't really need anybody in those seats. What we need is more execution on more sales calendars. Right now we're booked out 6 days out for sales. That's a problem. Right now, before this week, our training staff was booked 6 days out. Now we opened up more training calendars, so we're not booked on the support side 6 days out anymore. That was one critical one to make sure. But now I need to go back to sales. And I need to actually, what we've been looking at is, do we really need to open another sales calendar, or is still everybody getting served within that window is what I'm kind of looking at right now. But generally, I already know, my gut knows, yeah, we need another sales hire. And we take the sales hires pretty slow because I like to get somebody that is very relatable to who we have them speaking to, right? So right now, Chrissy, which does a majority of the pest control sales, she ran her own pest control company, passed $1 million, sold her company, ran it with her husband. So she has immediate rapport, knows what the customer is dealing with. And so we're also moving into lawn, and lawn closes are coming along really well. And so we're going to get somebody strategic on the sales side in lawn. So I've been taking my time with that hire, but that's, the next person strategically. We find that the close rate, right, on our sales accounts, if they're at least having a one touch with somebody that's within the industry, the close rate improves. A lot of the competition they'll have people in seats on the sales side that they all say that they're from that industry, right? But I want people that are really from the industry on closing.
For Chris, what's the next 5 years like for you?
Next 5 years, my parents are getting up there. So I've been been very adamant about doing family and friends trips throughout the year. I try to do 2 friends trips and 3 family trips. I'm noticing those are the things I look back on year, and I'm like, I'm so glad that I did that, spending that individual time with them. So continuing that is a big part of my 5-year goal. Gorilla Desk right now, we're growing at 35% year over year. As of 2 years ago, we were growing 60% year over year. And so I'm trying to strategically, find a way back to beyond 50% year over year growth. It's kind of my primary goal right now. And that does mean moving into other industries. So Gorilla Desk has been working all of its communication at the front end and at the ad level to appeal and to feel like it is for additional industries, not just pest control. And so we've done that really well in lawn and cleaning and pool, but mainly lawn is our next focus. And so I need to have an unlock there and kind of do all the things that we've done in pest industry for lawn. And that will probably be a 2-year push. We've done a lot of progress this year, but we'll make a lot more next year. And the year after that, I believe, until we start seeing traction within the communities and recommending Gorilla Desk. So once we do break into lawn, it's going to basically like double the amount of acquisition, if not triple the amount of acquisition. It's just becoming a real fit, and them feeling like, yes, it's really for us. And there's a few things being built there that are really exciting, mainly, being able to draw to get linear and square feet right on the map within the application. That seems to be a big one, and that's coming really soon. So that should check a lot of boxes that the lawn guys are asking for. I see myself continuing to run Gorilla Desk. I love the team that I work with. I love what I get to do every day. So, one thing is for the next 5 years, like getting to still do what I do now. I feel like everything's on all cylinders. It's kind of like I've built my life over the last 13 years to dial it into how I have it now. And this is the way that I like things. I like it to where I can be creative most of the day, work out, get my, boxing in, and being able to spend whatever time that I'd like to with my family. I think that I've also given up a lot of family time. And I'd say to anybody else out there, don't give up family time if you can. I know that, on the entrepreneur side, there isn't really balance when you're all going all out. But, and I'll say from my own experience, I'd always be thinking about business, wherever I was. That was it. That was what on my mind. I had to, winning at all costs. I'd say that the balance is, yes, you're unbalanced, but to be able to be completely present when you are with your family, I'd say for the next 5 years, that's something that I want to keep, where when I'm with my family, I'm with my family and I can be present there and take that with me instead of just, being there, but not really present and trying to focus on your next win. At some point, like the success is there. But the real success you really realize is the time that you're able to really spend, with the family that you have for the limited time that you have them becomes the real win, because you're going to end up in a place where you're going to win if you keep at it, if you persevere. I will rather be at that place knowing that I was also able to be present and have time for friends and family. And I say I wasn't as good at that before, So when you look at the next 5 years, it's about taking everything that I learned that I'd want to have change or be a bit better, be more mature about, and actually live how you want, design it and execute against that so that, there are no real regrets. There are some regrets. You can't, a lot of times you'll say, oh, I can't have no regrets or else it wouldn't got me here. No, yeah, I do regret this and I'm going to adjust and change this so that there really aren't any more regrets, So next 5 years about living with what I've learned and doing it the way that I will always want to be doing it and feeling good about that, having the people around me feel really good about that. So, there's no big exit opportunity or no big bag off the table. I've invested so well during this whole time. My investments take care of everything. Gorilla Desk for me now is about doing what I want and being creative in the way that I like to show up every single day. That's why I feel really confident in people will ask, hey, when are you going to sell? Or Chris, what's going to happen? But that's not what I want. Like I don't need that. This is what I need to feed myself creatively. So I think, and me, Jonas, like if anything were to happen, I'd be right into the next thing immediately and I'd be building something else right away,
Right. Yeah. No, that's freaking awesome. I love it. You're a stud. I'm glad that you're here. Glad you spent the last hour and a half with us. I appreciate you jumping on here. I appreciate our friendship. Like, glad to have you around. You're awesome.
Yeah. If you need anything, let me know. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm sure we'll have you back soon. We got some big things coming in the pipeline. So
there's a secret on the table.
There is. All right, brother. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Be good. Appreciate you.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. We don't charge any money for the show, obviously, but the podcast isn't free. You can pay for the podcast by sharing it with your friends and your family. So please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. These things make a huge difference for us. If you have any specific questions you want answered about the business or your life by me or my guests, send an email to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about any personal business coaching, check out our website at www.pestcontrolmillionaire.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys again on the next one.